another session of an investor showing his nicest portfolio company. We have Apax, and then we have Signavio. Please tell us your story. And we had a very interesting chat backstage. Whoever has processes in their company want to listen very carefully.
Absolutely. Perfect. Well, thank you very much for having us. I'm Mark Beith. I head up Apax's tech growth fund here in Europe. And we love investing in high-growth SaaS businesses, so we were delighted to lead a round this summer with Signavio, and excited to have Gero, the CEO and co-founder, here with me today. So maybe just to sort of start with, Gero, can you help us understand a little bit why is the process management space that you operate in, why has it suddenly gotten so hot?
It's funny. I started the company 10 years ago, and when I would tell people I want to build a software company around process management, people would say, process what? That's the most boring thing you can ever work on. And now fast forward 10 years, and you have all of these RPA companies, and you have process mining as a space that we're in as well. And suddenly you have fast-growing, really, really exciting companies. And if you peel that back, it's basically for two main reasons. So one is, on the one hand, a lot of organizations have woken up to the realization that they need to do a lot more for customer experience. They sent their people to design thinking workshops and are super creative, all of the good stuff, super excited, but then they come back Monday morning and nothing changes, right? So what companies wake up to these days is that the biggest challenge is not to be innovative or have creative ideas, but the biggest challenge is to actually change your operational model fast and let all of these great stuff influence how you work. The second big driver is automation. People love technology, and they're really excited about the thought that technology can do a lot more things that people used to do. But the problem is that technology is much dumber than people, so you need to understand and specify much more precisely how you're working. You need to simplify before you can plug in technology, and this is exactly where solutions like ours help and shed light and bring visibility and governance and manageability to that problem.
And maybe just to help people understand, if they're not very familiar with the process management space already, what exactly is it that the product does?
Yeah. So we help mid-sized, large organizations understand, improve, transform business processes. We have a product suite for that has different modules. One of them is process mining. So you take vast amounts of transactional data and you basically reverse engineer how the company works, and you can auto-detect bottlenecks, and you can correlate outcomes that you want to drive with the behavior that seems to cause that. Second piece is design. So you want to talk about your target state. You want to do what-if simulation, forecasting, how much business benefit will you see by changing that process, all the way to preparing and facilitating automation. We bought a small workflow automation company a couple of years ago ourselves, but we mostly work with a lot of partners in the low-code space and the RPA space, but also with the big application providers like Salesforce and SAP and Infor to drive reconfiguration and automation in their platforms as well.
Now, I'm obviously not biased here, but I can confirm that actually Apax very quickly bought a number of licenses to use Signavio ourselves, because we realized that just like when you think about numbers and data, if you're not measuring it, you're not managing it. Well, it turns out if you're not visualizing your processes and mapping them out and collaborating on them in your organization, well, if you're not doing that, then you're not managing your processes at all. And so we see that it really is sort of a huge opportunity, and we're actually beginning to roll it out now across a number of our portfolio companies. Because when you talk to people and you say there's a better way of managing your processes than trying to draw pictures in PowerPoint or Visio, that you can actually have a digital object that it's more easy to just sort of put in the parameters, and it does all of the flow charts and other things for you, that you can actually then run simulations, you can collaborate with people, and it's I think still dawning on a lot of people in a lot of places that actually there is a better option available. Now, when I think about let's say the size of the round that we did in the summer, so it was $177 million. It's a lot of money. What do you why raise so much money? What are you looking to do with it?
Yeah. So if we look back, the first 6.5 years of the company were bootstrapped. So we didn't raise any capital for the first 6.5 years. ran the company really lean, really efficient, find the product market fit, all of those things. Then 3 years ago, we took the first round of funding to really help us scale and transform the company. So we've done exactly that in the last 3 years. The company doesn't look similar to how it used to be 3 years ago. Transformed go-to-market, brought really, really senior people on board, build a blueprint how to go into new markets, have a predictable conversion funnel through the different, for the different customer segments that we're in. We introduced strong recruiting, all of these things. We also transformed our whole engineering team over the last 12 months quite heavily to bring back that productivity and that ingenuity that you have when you have 10, 15 engineers, but suddenly you have 150. So how do you bring that autonomy at scale, agility at scale to reality? So this is what we've all done. So Apax came at the perfect time where we had basically built the foundation and have a clear path now how to predictably and very scalably take the company forward. So what are we using the money for? Well, one of the big things obviously is geo expansion. So right after the transaction closed, we launched in 4 additional countries. So added Japan, we added India, we added Canada, Sweden, very, very quickly. But also double down on some of the product initiatives. So for some of the products, we immediately doubled the capacity, hired a lot more engineers to double down on the product initiatives that we have. So we're really excited to have the water under the boat, if you will, to be able to leverage all of these great opportunities ahead of us and fund that.
And when you think about, on the one hand, the process management space has been around, for decades. On the other hand, now it's experiencing a real acceleration and a lot more activity. Where are we on that journey? How big can this be?
So, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, process management was really only a technology for very few experts and for the very large organizations. So we were, part of the success of Signavio was we were the first cloud vendor in that space and really driving process management for everyone as a mantra, embracing engagement, collaboration, all of those things. So we opened up the market basically to all of these large, mid-sized companies. This is how we evolved as a company. So the classical disruptor story basically. But if we look at market potential out there, it still feels like we're just learning how to run and just getting started. So we recently did the calculation, looking at all of the ideal customer profiles that we have as organizations in those countries where we already have an office. We have a logo coverage of somewhere between 1% and 2% in those markets. And if we look at account penetration, so how much software can we position typically with a certain size company, then we're typically in anywhere between 10 and 20% penetration of a given account, which also explains net retention rates of beyond 120%, for instance. So if you do the easy math, then there's tons of potential for us going forward. And then with only the recent hype around RPA and all of these things that were added, AI that is becoming is getting mainstream adoption only now, where again you need process management to put AI in the box and manage it and govern it and make it work. The market might be even bigger than we think it is today.
Perfect. It actually reminds me of one of the customer calls we did when we were doing our diligence, and this was with Goldman Sachs, who are actually one of the earliest adopters of Signavio, and they were explaining that the way they think about how they run their operations, and they have everyone trained on Signavio, is that first of all they have to digitize everything that they're doing. And once they've digitized everything, they can lay it out, they can look at it together, then they can work on optimizing it. And then once they have things in a sort of reasonable state, that's when they start trying to really ramp up the automation. I think it's sort of an approach that makes a lot of sense.
And adding on that, it's not only the large banks and the Walmarts and so of the world who can really leverage this. We're also very proud to be a an enabler for the high growth in the tech community. So we signed on Airbnb when they had 250 employees and they wanted to scale to 600, 700 employees over a couple of months, and they had no clue how to do that and bring the scalability to their organization. Or serving Zalando, I think, since their year 3 or so of operations, or Delivery Hero, or Uber and others. So maybe as a call to action, if you're planning to build a big business, and I guess many of you are, reach out to us. Once you've reached 100, 200, 300 people, that's the perfect time to start using our software and build a foundation and build the scalability in your operational model.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.